Hello there, Sithbelle here, continuing our journey through the past. When last we left, the Mindfinity server had just closed down, and I was looking for a new place to go. Unfortunately, I don't have a download of the world that I went to immediately after, but I do have some screenshots, and I just wanted to show you those real quick because I'm very proud of the work that I did there, and it was kind of the bridge of the transition to where I went to next. So I knew that with the new server that I wanted to join, that I wanted it to be a bit more mature than the one that I had just left. I loved those guys, but a lot of them were still in high school, and I just didn't have a lot in common to talk about with them. So I wanted to hang out with people who, had a job and might know what a mortgage is and weren't worried about getting grounded and that kind of stuff. So I set out to find a more mature server, and I found one that was 21 plus. And for the sake of this channel, I'm going to call it Tomfoolery. You'll see it's a bit more of a blue name than that. So I joined them kind of close to Christmas and I got started. I wanted to continue the work that I had begun on Mindfinity with the Banner Barn, and I wanted to expand it and make it better now that I kind of had more of an understanding of what was going on. I expanded the sheep and flower farms so that they produced more with each and spent a long time working on the flower farm. And I transformed my lighthouse from an octagonal who knows what into a fully functioning storage system, which automatically stored everything in the game at that time. And to this day, it's probably one of my favorite builds that I've ever made. Each floor had its own unique pattern, everything was carefully labeled, and honestly, it looked fantastic. And I wish that I had a copy of the world so I could make it in Sithbelle Survives. And then for my shop, I built something called the Banner Barn, which was later pranked into the Banner Maze, and it sold all the banners, which is why I needed all the colors and the wool. Alas, as with all multiplayer servers, it didn't last forever, and a few months after I joined, they shut down with the intention of starting up again with a second season with a whole new world once the new terrain generation had started. And that brings us to this place. Welcome to season 2 of quote unquote tomfoolery. I ended up becoming a moderator of this server, and in fact, ended up being the owner of this server through various events that happened. And so I got to design a lot of the things here as I saw fit. We had a great team, we had lots of lovely players, and this is some of my proudest work that I've ever done in Minecraft. So you actually spawned in this room. If you'll notice, it's a reflective floor, which is achieved through actually recreating everything inverted. So this is actually the same room done twice. And so new members would come in here, they'd read the rules of tomfoolery, and then they'd come and get a bed so that they had something to start with. And then they were directed to go up this chute here. And once you got to the top, you were deposited into the shopping district, which is abandoned. There were also some additional mods that we had where you could go mining in a peaceful mining world to gather materials without destroying the world, which was very nice. And that's what these are. Unfortunately, with the server being pulled down, I don't have that mod on my single player world, so we can't go look at those. And we'll come back to the shopping district a bit later. Obviously, with a name like Tomfoolery and it being a 21 plus server, we kind of leaned into that and made some names very joking. Once you had your bearings, there was usually a moderator who would come in and help you get settled. And so the first place you would check out is the Nether Hub. And well, I don't know about you, but this looks slightly familiar, doesn't it? If you're watching Sithbelle Survives, you'll know that I basically created this again with a slightly different concept, more customized to myself. And the colored paths make great ways to tell people where you lived. We're going to focus on the cyan path because imagine that, cyan being my favorite color, and I'm the owner of the server. I got to pick which path mine was. I also made all of this. We put our heads to show you where we were going. Some friends of mine lived out this way as well. I've definitely improved the path in Sithbelle Survives. I think I like it a bit better. I actually lived quite a ways out because, again, I liked playing with the colors and the banners and the sheep and everything. So I wanted to do that for my shop. And so I had to find a flower forest to live in. And it turns out on this particular map, for whatever reason, there's only one flower forest in the entire border. So, and it's way out here. So I lived out in the middle of nowhere. Now, the theming of my base on this, I called it the Patchwork Kingdom because the roofs, I like to have like a patchwork of different colors on everything. You'll see in a second. But that's why this path here looks like it does. And in we go. Now, this is not a complete base by any means. This was my nether portal. I called it the witch's hat because I was trying to experiment with different kinds of roofs and I wanted to do an exponential one. And it turns out when you do that, you end up making witch's hat. I actually really like this one. I will say this is the only base that doesn't have a lighthouse. I was trying to step away from that for a little bit and so didn't end up making it. I did make this tree, however, and one of the things, once we get our starter island in Sithbelle Survives completed a little bit more, I want to start putting some trees in there. I really like how this tree turned out. And this was my house. I wanted to go for something warm and cozy, and this was the first house that I built on here, or the first structure that I built on here, and it's kind of how the Patchwork Kingdom started. And so the roof is very, patchy. And I really, really like this house to this day, and I part of me wants to bring it over to Sithbelle Survives, but I also like our starter house. It's kind of an improved iteration, I think, of this guy. Now, for interiors, I didn't really have any. As you can see, I did create a proto kelp farm. This is my first attempt at combining kelp and bamboo together. So I've got my little bamboo farm over here. It feeds directly into this machine here, and it makes dried kelp. And all the dried kelp gets put into here, which this was the input for my super smelter. Actually, I think that's where the kelp went. It's been a long time since I played on this. So, but I primarily lived down here. I had a map of my property, had my nice cozy little storage room, and in here is my super smelter. And I'm actually pretty proud of this super smelter because it's got like 32, I think, furnaces in here. It's very condensed and it worked. This was my first ever proper super smelter attempt. And the fact that it all fits along this wall and it's that dense, I was very proud of the results there. Because of a limitation on the server when I pull it from multiplayer to single player, I had to pull out everything from my ender chest and put it over here when I transferred the stuff. So, as with the Mindfinity server, wanted to see what my names are. We have Catcher's Helmet, which I think I still rock. Tie Bomber, as always. I never named my pants. Weird. Clodhoppers. Use a hoe. I think Use a hoe has also made it through multiple iterations. Pickaxe of Destiny. Scoops Bagoops. I think I need to remember that name for Sithbelle Survives if I don't have it on one yet. Let Me Axe You Dis is always a classic for my axe. And the lightsaber, of course. And Rumplebowskin, which my husband named. So we had the Vorpal Sword. My spoon is too big. See? Gold Digger, but not really. Oh, that's based on a bow that I have in real life. I think I was just getting I ran out of inspiration, so some of these are very silly. This was a special thing that we added to the server that allowed us to insta mine deep slate, which is not otherwise possible. Nose picker. Whopper plopper. And Diggle Hopper. So yeah, largely similar. In here, I had shopping baskets, is what I named all my things, which I think I named on Mindfinity as well. The larder's still a thing, my wallet, Feuerwerker. I had a pearl necklace, because Living Dead Pearls kept getting the song stuck in my head. Lighting was still blue. My redstone box is still blue. Big steamy logs made it. Hey, there's wood. So yeah, I actually managed to keep everything organized, which is a big improvement over the last server that I was on, and I'm very proud of how clean I managed to keep this. Oh, this is how you turned on the super smelter. Needless to say, I've improved it a bit since then. Out here is my proudest work. This is what I called the Rainbow Refinery. And I wanted it to look kind of like a computer, like a motherboard. I hadn't quite gotten to the landscaping. I was just starting on that when the server ended up going down. But I made this factory, which was designed by Scorpio 1, I think, and I scaled it up and made a few changes to suit my needs. And down here, I could create every single color in the game, color dye, through various farms, and they would all get automatically put into the sorter in here. Now, the way these worked is that each of these modules is a flower farm. And when they're not used, they have water flushing them out. And then underneath, there's a hopper clock that goes back and forth that triggers the farm to work. Let's get some bone meal in here. And there. Okay. So what you would do is you would flip on these switches here. Let's flip these guys on too. Whoops. Anyway, once the switches were flipped, the flower farms would start going, and they would flush the seeds and the flowers into the center where they'd be lifted up by a bubble vader and then taken into the factory itself. Honestly, it's just mesmerizing to watch all the bits and pieces move of this guy, and I probably spent more time just watching it work than I'm proud to admit. But once they, came in, they would get dumped into this main water stream, and then they'd go into the sorting system. Just like that. Each one of the colors is offset from each other so they don't land on top of the one below it. And yeah, it was so awesome. It still is awesome. Now, admittedly, this is not perfect, and if you ran it for too long, these hoppers would get very much backed up. So I had these chests here to sort out the seeds. And then back here, everything would get sorted through the system. See, they're actually going pretty well right now. They're all sorted out. Had everything very well lit up to prevent lag as much as possible. And yeah, that's how that worked. In here was my banner making section, which never really got fully fleshed out because the server ended up going down before I had an opportunity to get into banners too much. Over here, I would convert all the dyes and store them there. And this is the one place where I wish we had the auto crafters that are coming up in the next couple of months, because then I could have fully automated this place. And then over here is where the bone meal comes in, and I guess some wool. I accidentally, this thing is so large, it goes over a chunk border. And so these would, oh wait, that might just be because it's full. And for the colors and dyes and flowers that don't grow naturally in the fields, I had these little modules here, which you can't really see them going, but it's making a bunch of roses and all the too tall flowers. You can kind of see it just a wee bit flashing by. It's picked up by a hopper and sent to the sorting system. In fact, you can hear it going. And over here was the very loud. I don't even know if I can get that to work, but this was the cocoa bean farm. And this thing made sea pickles for lime dye. This was a tutorial from Cub Fan, and it works very well. Maybe a little over engineered for my purposes, but it definitely got the job done. So we're currently in the depths of my black dye / squid farm, which was surprisingly effective. And it houses the secret to one of the coolest things that I built in here, which is the underground system for the entire factory. So I had a little bed here so I could AFK while the squids were going, make sure that it was still working. And then under here was just this little underground network. And I'm not going to go through all of it, but I'll show you where it all went. And so these are all connected to all the flower farms throughout the entire property. And this is where I sorted out the black dye. It's pretty nifty, if I do say so myself. The next project that I worked on was this guy over here. And this was my villager trading hall. And talk about a little bit over engineered. Also, very unfinished inside. But I had a villager breeder here and 4 different wings for all the different types of villagers. So I had a wing for farmers. And in here is where I had all my librarians, which is where I traded my glass, and I had one of most of the good books. In fact, you'll kind of see how the evolution came to how Sithbelle Survives' villagers are set up. Here's where I had all the glass, all the paper, and all the stuff that I'd trade. In here were my clerics, my stonemasons, and my fletchers, and my zombie, because I was in the process of curing all of these guys. In fact, I hadn't quite finished when the server went down. But we were working on it, and these guys were actually providing my splash potions of weakness. And then finally, I had my shepherds, my miscellaneous guys, my cartographers, and my fishermen. And as you can see, I just finished in here with the curing, as evidenced by the minecart track that's still here. Again, very much an unfinished build, but I really liked how this was coming along, and to be quite honest with you, I would not be surprised if something similar to this ended up showing up later, because I really liked the design of this. Now, as far as unfinished projects go, this was going to be my bulk storage, and had already started being my bulk storage. This is the most ridiculous set of chests I've ever set up. And I think the stone one is actually like, yeah, it's like a quarter of the way up already. That's how much I played in this world. Eventually, this was going to be in the shape of like a rook from chess, Or maybe like a lighthouse. You never know. And so the input was going to go up here, and I was going to have. I actually don't know what my plans were for the top of this, but I like the design. One of the fun challenges about this server is that there was only one flower forest in the world border, and it was right next to a pillager patrol tower. So I had to cordon these guys off because they were shooting at me a lot while I was building a lot of this. The last part of my base that I was working on right before the server died was this guy right here. It was going to be a nice geometric looking build. It was going to have a bit of a blue patchwork to kind of go with the theming. And it never made it because, yeah, things happen. But that was my base. My This will still be my pride and joy forever. I don't know if I'll ever build something this cool again. Moving onward, let's go back into the nether a bit. And I'll show you some of the other builds that I made. Just down the road here is a game that I called Spleef. And for those who don't know, Spleef is a Minecraft game where you try to knock the ground out from underneath people and kill them. It's a very fun minigame. So this is a variation on the theme where instead of it being something like snow or ice that you shovel out, it's actually drip leaf. And drip leaf has the unique property of getting me stuck. So drip leaf has the unique property of bending down after you walk on it, like so. So imagine you get 6 or 7 people all running around and you have to try to avoid their path and knock them down. Very fun game. Now we took it a step further because this is a modded server or somewhat modded server and I could do whatever I wanted. And so we created what was called knockback chicken. Which unfortunately, I think I need to go into survival mode to actually show you how this works. And if you hit something with the knockback chicken, it goes very far. And is absolutely ridiculous. So if you slap another person, you can create like you just go all over the arena. It's a very, very fun time. Many, many nights of laughter were had playing knockback chicken. You could also play it without the knockback. You could throw snowballs, which would automatically knock the leaves down, like so. So you could kind of tactically spleef somebody from a distance if you wanted to. And then there are a bunch of identical uh, bedrooms and stuff where you can put your stuff because you are going to die playing this game. 100% guarantee. Some of us customized ours. If we had one our favorite, we'd have our head there. It's my version 2.0 skin. Doesn't have the bottom on it. That's cool. Yeah. This was hand placed. I don't know why I have sea pickles. Yeah, this was hand placed and in this pattern. And I'm really happy with how this came out because it was annoying to put together, let me tell you. But well worth it. And now we find ourselves back at the hub. You may notice that some things are not loaded in correctly, and that's because for some reason, the map that I was recording on just cut out a bunch of chunks that I was about to show you. And, well, that kind of defeats the purpose of the episode. So I loaded it on to a different instance. And so I don't have any of my fancy mods. So the glass is all connected and I don't have a zoom key and all that fun stuff. Anyway, here we are back in town. And show you a couple of other builds that I made. So the first one I'm going to show you is over here. This is the municipal building, otherwise known as the post office. And I'm pretty proud of how this turned out. I loosely followed a guide. I didn't actually follow a tutorial or anything. I just looked at some screenshots and then made it work. But anyway, the colors that are on the nether map actually correspond to these guys here. So if you lived on, say, the teal line like I do, then you would come in here and you would get your mail. Upstairs was a slight banking area that one of my other mods was working on. And other than that, the inside was still being workshopped as to what we wanted to put in there. And over here is the town proper. And I'm so proud of our guys. Some people had a bit more of a sense of humor. We had our lovely mermaid. We had a toilet. Um, we had a slot machine which got vandalized. No idea who could have done that. It certainly wasn't me. And then over here is my old shop. So this is chromatic aberration. I have lots of different entrances, only one of which has a sign. There we go. That's the one with the sign. Why I did it out this way instead of the other way, I have no idea. But in here, I sold lots of stuff that had to do with color. So, like dyes, concrete powder, concrete, glass, wool. For some reason, I wasn't doing terracotta, and I'm not entirely sure why. But that is, I think somebody else was doing terracotta. I'm not sure. Plans for expansion were going to be down in the basement where I was going to do all my banner stuff. And, oh no, that's not what I wanted to do. Well, that's gone. This little rainbow map that I made. Very proud of it. If I had the map on here, I would show you. I might go back to the other instance and see if I can find it. This mushroom pillar was built by people who were watching me build my shop at the time. And for I don't know why they decided to grow mushrooms one on top of the other, but it was great fun at the time. Over here is one of my proudest builds. Now, full disclosure, this was built in creative with me and a couple of other people because the server was already starting to kind of dwindle a little bit and we just wanted to build something really fun. So we created Rainbow Road. And so this is a boat racing course. I made a mistake and we used blue ice instead of regular ice, so it is very, very dangerous. But there's a bunch of pitfalls. You could shoot snowballs at the end crystals to blow them up. You could actually use a boat to go up these ramps. There were shortcuts with varying degrees of difficulty, some straightaways, some jumps you had to time with slime blocks. Um, I love this. I really wish I could bring this along in a different world or have some people who could play it again with me. And then this was my main contribution apart from the infrastructure. This is the toilet bowl of doom. You can technically climb up this. This is actually designed to go up, not down. And I have I have regrets with this. This is not easy to do. It kind of takes a long time. It takes the fun out. So we added a shortcut where you could circumvent the entire thing if you were good, which is that right there. I won't show you in a boat because I will make you sick. I will make me sick. Oh, and there are points where you could accidentally fall down. So we added Lakitu recovery points at various spots where if you fell into the water, you could actually use these to climb back up to the top and get back in the race. It's pretty cool. Oh, and these were our little error markers to show you which direction you were supposed to be going in, so they'd be lit up so mobs wouldn't spawn on here because I used blue ice, so mobs definitely spawned. And I think that's where I'm going to leave this tour. There's a bunch of other builds on this server, but I did not build them, and I don't think I would give them the credit that they deserve or the explanations that they deserve. And I just kind of wanted to go back in time a little bit and see my history and see how far I've come. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time in Sithbelle Survives. 1.21 is here, so we are going to hit it hard and heavy. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.